Okay then guys, if you want to grab our men's lifestyle supplement, which is now called the Male Advantage supplement, it is in the link below. Over 20,000 units sold. It's our best selling product. It is free shipping worldwide, and if you subscribe monthly, you get a 10% discount. If you want to sign up to our stream platform, the link is below. This is higher level content. We're going to be adding to this over the next 5-10 years. And if you want our course, which is on life setup, framing, marathon mindset, body language, attracting women, a lot of the things that I can't talk about on YouTube, I can go a lot deeper, I can be a lot more personal. That link is also below. It's $69.99, or you can do 5 payments of £14 over 5 months. Now, straight into the video, guys. One take. Did you see that? One take, guys. Didn't mess around. Okay then, guys. You know what we've got in this group? It's really fun. We've got a bunch of everything. We've got a bunch of products. We've got a bunch of whatever. No, we've got these terms. It's fucking bacon in here. It's getting to that time of year. We've got a bunch of terms. You know how I say, "Oh, okay, guys, we've got a bunch of whatever." You guys have taken that on. So when I post on Instagram and stuff like that, and I've seen people say something like, "Okay, guys, we've got a bunch of living here. We got a bunch of male advantage here. Okay, guys, we've got a bunch of nice coats here and stuff like that." Like, it's funny. It's really funny. We got, did they call them idioms? Is that what they call them? Not idiots, but idioms with an M. Is that what they call them? I'll have to search it. Where it's like little tells, little quirks that certain people do. You guys have picked up on it. It's making me laugh. It's funny. But let's dive into the video. So the point of the video is how I became emotionless. I tried to come up with a better title, I couldn't, so just old school first man it, maybe it will catch on. So the way to explain this, right, when I was younger, I would get angry over certain things. If it was stuff with a woman, I would get really like, so what's she up to? What's she doing? Why is she doing that? When it came to business, I was making like decisions when I was happy or when I was sad. And I realized the best decisions I made was when I was just chilled. And I was like, I saw it was the early Star Trek, like the more modern version of it. They did an early Star Trek episode or film, and I remember it was Spock, the logical thinking guy, and I was like, imagine if you could think like that all the time. Imagine where it would put you in life. So I was reading a book at the same time, which was telling me about 3 different brain types that we actually have as humans. So I'll explain that. You have the reptilian brain, the limbic brain, and the neocortex. So the reptilian brain is like feed, fight, fuck, all the basics. Like, you don't have to think about breathing. It just happens naturally. Same with blinking and stuff like that. The limbic brain is the emotional part of the brain. Apparently we use that around about 40% of the time. It might have been 30 for men. I think it was higher for women, which, you know, makes sense. But we're using it a lot. Let's say if it is 40%, you can search it. I think it was about 40. The reptilian brain gets used like most because obviously we have to use it all the time. But then the neocortex was like 5% of the time. So I looked at that and I wasn't happy because I was like, okay, I'm using my logical thinking brain on average 5% of the day, right? And I'm using my emotional brain. Reptilian is what it is, right? I need it. But my limbic brain, I'm using that 40% of it. So basically 50% of my daily decisions are made emotionally. I don't like that. That didn't sit right with me. I just thought that it's a perfect scenario for just messing your life up, for just lashing out at somebody, ending up in prison, or just making an emotional decision when it came to like investing, crypto, or whatever it was. I didn't think that at the time, but you know what I mean. I wish I did. I think it would have been Bitcoin back then at its lowest. But yeah, like it just, with women, for example, what, you out tonight? You out with that guy? It's just not a nice situation, right? So I decided, I was like, I'm gonna, like I put on here, the decisions that I was making, it was just dangerous and stupid. Like, that's how it felt. It was dangerous is the key word. Like, why would I want to make my decisions emotionally? So I was like, I'm gonna train my brain. I'm going to train myself to become less emotional and start making decisions from a logical standpoint. Now, how did I do this? So number one, I was reading a book called The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins. And that made me realize that nothing's ever personal. Like anything that anybody does to you, people are just doing things for their best intentions. And let's say if you've got a girlfriend and she cheats on you, Instead of acting all emotionally and kicking off and sending her messages, how dare you do this to me, and calling and nonstop, I'm going to knock that guy out. I would just be like, well, because I know about the selfish gene, I would stop and go, she didn't do it to hurt me. She probably wasn't even thinking about me at the time. She was just thinking, this guy is a better candidate than who I've currently got. I'm going to do this for me. It's just the selfish gene. Nobody's doing it to piss you off or hurt you or whatever. That's why when you confront them, they'll be like, I'm so sorry, babe. I didn't mean to. I didn't know what I was doing. It's just like, yeah, it's just a selfish decision. You just chose to do it for yourself. You know, it's like buying 2 nice desserts and then the other person goes missing for an hour and they're not coming back and you're like, I'm just going to eat it anyway. And then they come back and you're like, sorry, I just got hungry. There's no different to that. It's just like, I wanted it. I was hungry. It looked delicious. I'm going for it. You're not thinking of the other person in the moment. You're thinking of yourself and how nice it'll taste for you. So I realized there's like nothing's personal. If somebody tries to fuck you over, like it's not personal. Like all of this stuff is just people thinking about themselves selfishly and then making decisions for themselves. They're not even taking you into account. There's very few people in this world that will take you into account. It'll be your closest family. But the majority of people, everything's done selfishly. It's like you think you love your woman. You think you love, your social circle and whatever. Yeah, you might. But it's more so, I like having these people around. I'm going to kind of curate this because it's good for my life. Why do you want a beautiful woman? Why do you fall in love with a beautiful woman? Because it's optimal for your life. It's optimal for your genes. It's almost, I think this was said in Rick and Morty. Like Rick even said it's like a trick. It's like an evolutionary trick. It's lust that just turns into love. Like it's not real and then it fades. Like I think he said something like it hits hard and then it fades over time and leaves you in like a loveless marriage. Now I know that sounds very like robotic and negative and whatever, but it is kind of true. It's kind of true. And everybody's just making decisions based on themselves. Even when you're doing something nice for somebody, you're still thinking it's going to get me brownie points. I'm doing something really nice. And you might not consciously think this, might not be at the front of your brain, but you want to keep that beautiful woman happy. So you do something nice and I'm such a good guy. But really you're doing it for you, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? Now it gets deeper over time. You get feelings and whatever. And you're like, I just want to make that person happy and whatnot. But a lot of the decisions that people make is very selfish. It's very all about me. I got to do this for me and whatnot. And I realized that. I was like, nothing's really personal. It's not an attack against me. They didn't pair up to piss me off. As far as I know, I've never been cheated on. But if I did, that's how I would react. I'd just be like, you didn't do it to get at me. You didn't do it as like a vindictive act. It was just you saw this guy, said the right things, you went home with him. Like, I guess you're the wrong woman. Do you know what I mean? I just move on. So I made myself emotionless through that. The second thing I did is you control your own thoughts and daily decisions. Everything else is random. So I realized that you can't control everything. So my daily thoughts, what goes through here, this is a fortress, okay? There's an old African proverb, and I've said this in about 50 different videos, but it's one of my favorite quotes of all time. If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. This to me is my fortress. Nothing else can get in here. Nothing can penetrate it. It's just, this is my world in here. Whatever I think is the reality. So if everyone's laughing at you, but you're thinking, they're all smiling, thinking how great I look, then that's how the world would appear to you. Do you know what I mean? I think that's quite delusional, but that's how the world would look to you. If you're walking around and you keep telling yourself, I don't know, oxygen's poisonous, and everyone's like, well, you can breathe it, you idiot. Like in your head, you're like, it's poison. Do you know what I mean? Your world is different to everybody else's. So it's just whatever you put in here. Now, I'm not saying to do that. That's dumb. But in terms of the oxygen and that stuff. But you can really protect what goes on in here in terms of that you're surrounded by negativity and everyone's saying a certain narrative. You, in your head, you can be like, I don't believe that. I don't think that's true. I'm going to protect what's in here. And you can have a completely different mindset and a positive outlook on the world compared to everyone else. So that's one thing I did. And then I realized as well, like my daily decisions. So if I wake up and I'm like, I want to go to the gym, that's on me. That's cause and effect, okay? I decide to go to the gym. I get in better shape. Well done, Chris. I want to get up early. I set an alarm. It goes off. I hit stop and I get up. I don't hit snooze. I can control that. I can control my thoughts and decisions. But one thing I can't control is the randomness of the world. I can't control that for other people. So if I said to somebody, meet me at the gym at 7 a.m. and they didn't show, instead of getting angry, I can just be like, logically, I don't know the situation. I don't know what's happened. Somebody could have died in their family. They could have had a car accident. I actually hope they're okay. Or maybe they're just tired. It's none of my business. Whatever they want to do, they want to do. And I realized that quite early on, that I can't control any of that. I can't control other people's actions. So if I got to the gym at 7 a.m. and I was waiting for somebody and they didn't show, I would just train myself and then go home and think nothing of it. I wouldn't get emotional and be like, where the hell are you? You've let me down. I just don't think that's good for your life. I just think it wastes a lot of time. So I kind of cancelled all that out. I've told you guys as well before in the past about all the Disney stuff too. That's another point I haven't written down. But, you know, just getting carried away with the Disney stuff and being like, oh my God, I think this is my wife. This could be the love of my life. It's just like, I'd rather think about it logically and be like, okay, we're into the same things. She doesn't cause any drama. She's a good woman. She ticks all these boxes. Yeah, we live close. We've got the same kind of plans and ambitions. Yeah, then now I can let myself develop emotions for this woman. I never let myself just go, oh my God, I think she's the one. And then she flies off to fucking back to LA or something. And I'm like, oh, that was the one that got away. Now I feel sad for a month. Like that, you can't live like that. Do you know what I mean? Everything that I do is just like logical. And then I let the Disney in. Trust me, guys, this changes your life. The next thing I do is the next thing I figured out to do is I don't let myself go down a path of overthinking. Overthinking is emotion. It's very much a female trait. So I'll give you a little storyboard. Here's the thoughts that go through a lot of guys' heads. Who does she follow? Who's the jacked guy? Why does she follow him? Let me search him. Let me see if he follows her. I feel like shit. What if she's cheating on me? She's going out tomorrow. What if he's out? This guy's trying to take my girl. I'm going to kill him. When she gets home, I'm bringing it up. I'm so angry. How could she do this to me? I'm heartbroken. I can't get this out of my mind and it's ruined my day and I'm not doing anything until I know it needs resolving. Like, you can't live like that. I realized that when I was young. I was like, as soon as you go down a train, like, no, it's not even real. You're just making up a story based on emotion in your head. Boom, just cut it off. Logic. I would rather use concepts like Occam's razor. Occam's razor is like, if there's two or more possible scenarios or outcomes, chances are it's going to be the most logical one. It's going to be the most obvious one. It's going to be the most likely one. That's Occam's razor. So if I said to you, let me come up with something really quick, top of my head. If I said to you, okay, here's a good one. This happens to people a lot of time. People's cars break down. And then they go, I don't know what it is. This has happened. That's happened. It could be the windscreen wipers that have done this. And I think the rain got through it. They'll come up with like crazy explanations. Oh, there was a warning light on here and blah, blah, blah. And this happened. And this happened. Do you know how many times people have just run out of fuel? Like, that happens a lot. The first question, they're like, you know when you call IT support and they're just like, have you turned it off and on? Like, you just go for the most basic things to begin with. And yeah, it can be offensive, but the amount of people who work for like the RAC, or I don't know what it is in America, roadside rescue sort of thing, is basically what I'm getting at. Do you know how many times they turn up and they go, you're out of fuel? Like, you just ran out. You didn't even check. What were you doing? I was playing music. I was singing. I was talking to my friends. Like, I wasn't really paying attention, you know, and they've actually just run out of fuel. It happens like all the time. You know, like, a wife's been murdered. They're like, it's probably the husband. It's just always, do you know what I mean? If he's got the closest access to her and he lives with her, they always go, it was probably the husband. You know, it's just the same thing I said to you guys before. And this isn't always the case, so we shouldn't assume. But when it's like, oh, that rich famous guy raped me, it's like my brain immediately goes, Occam's razor, I'm sure he didn't. Now, you get Harvey Weinsteins, you get a lot of these guys and whatever. But like Benjamin Mendy, the footballer who played for Man City, the French guy, when it happened to him, I was like, I bet he didn't. I bet that didn't happen. What, a rich, handsome, young, you know, in-shape guy living, you know, like, he's got options. You know, it just doesn't make sense. So my initial reaction would be, I bet he probably didn't. Now, we'll look into this, but I bet he probably didn't. That's Occam's razor. That's logic over emotion. Emotion would be like, I hate the team he plays for. Let me go. Like, Relax, use your brain. Settle everything down. So the next thing I did was I trained my brain to stop in the moment and analyze myself and my reaction from an external viewpoint, as if I was watching myself from a neutral standpoint. I know that sounds like I'm trying to blow my own dick, right? That's a bit much, isn't it, to say about yourself? But I did do that. It's the only way I can describe it. And I'll give you an example. The first time it ever happened to me, I remember I grew up in a family. I love my family to pieces, but I grew up in a family. It's like when something happens to you, you blame others around you, and I see this all the time. You stub your toe, and you're like, "Oh, the reason I did it is because you wouldn't fucking shut up. You're in my ear." Have you guys seen that happen? That used to happen in my family a lot. So one day I bumped my head on the cupboard, and I was the one who left it open, and I must have been like 18, and I looked at my mum in the garden who was doing like some lawn mowing, making like a ton of noise. And I tipped my tongue to be like, fuck did you leave the cupboard open for? You're making all that noise. Like I was distracted. I was hungover. And as I hit my head, I caught myself in like a 5-second moment. And I was like, no, it's not her fault, you idiot. It's you. I was like, you open the cupboard, you hit your head because you're angry. You're looking for somebody to blame it on. You're acting irrationally. You're acting emotionally. You're hungover, so you feel like shit. Take control of yourself. What the fuck is wrong with you? I remember being really proud of myself in that moment, because usually in the past it would have been like, oh, it's you, get off. Do you know what I mean? I would have just gone crazy. Like, I see this a lot when people get embarrassed or scared. They act terribly. They start just randomly shouting at people. What the fuck is wrong with you? Blah, 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 it's you. Like, it's when they get scared, or when, like I said to you guys before, when people's reality doesn't match what's in their heads. It's like a sense of delusion. Like when you think you're great and then the world tells you you're not, or proves to you you're not. Because you can't rationalize that and go, logically, okay, I'm happy, I'm fine with that. I can deal with it. I need to go and work on myself. People just go, well, do you know the problem with you? You're actually really ugly, but you don't. And it's like, it's just one of the weakest signs of behavior. If you can get on top of that, guys, I promise you it'll change your life. Like I said, I don't want 50% of my decisions every day to be based on emotion. I'm not in control of that. That's dangerous. That's really dangerous. So pretty much everything I do, no matter how much somebody offends me, what they say, I go stop, think, logic, what's the right decision to make here? Okay, and even if the right decision is I need to break this guy's jaw, I'm going to do that unemotionally. I'm going to do that whilst breathing calmly and be like, okay, it's going to lead to a fight. I'm going to have to deal with this. I'm not going to be like, I'm going to kill you and run over there and start swinging and breathing heavily. I'm going to be calculated. And I've trained my brain. I probably first started doing it about 18, and it was about 27, 28 where I really got on top of it. And now I think I've got like full mastery of it. It's, you get those hot-headed moments where you're just like, you just feel like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like I'm getting a little bit like irate here. Like if you can learn to control yourself in those moments and just stop, breathe, and just be like, this is dumb. Why would I react like this? The amount of times, I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but I used to do this a lot. If something didn't work technically, like on a computer, and I would just kind of ignore the facts. And I'd be like, well, it should be fucking working. And I'd still be clicking away. And I'd be like, oh, the stupid technology, it can't keep up with my work rate. I'd make all these like emotional, like I'm this egotistical emotional decisions. And now that I'm older, I'm like, I stop and I go, well, if it's not working, the technology has been built in a certain way for it to work, right? There's people far smarter than me that have built this. If it's not working, I must be doing something wrong. And it's hard. It's hard to do that. It's hard to admit that you might be in the wrong. It might be your fault. But I'm telling you guys, that sets you free. It's a nice feeling in life to go, okay, this isn't working. It is frustrating me. I'm only human. It is getting annoying. However, if it's not working, there must be something I'm missing. There must be something that I'm doing wrong. Those people, I used to hate them when I was younger because I was like, no, how about I just put my fist through the screen? Now that I've gotten older, I'm like, you can't react like that. You can't it's just so stupid. It's just so dumb. It's funny. I do love people like that. I think they're hilarious to watch. But it's just not going to benefit your life. Those are the people that end up in prison because they've just done something irrationally. Those are the type of guys that would just backhand their wife and go, oh, shit, sorry, babe, I didn't mean to. Like Dana White when he slapped his wife recently. I'm sure he's not actually like that, but he just acted emotionally. He's probably under the influence of drugs, alcohol, whatever. I don't want to make accusations. Alcohol's fine, but it looked like he'd taken some shit. You can't react like that in life. It's like I said, the perfect words, and Exhibit A, Dana White, and Exhibit B, what did I say? Ends up in prison. It's dangerous. It's dangerous to your life. And the culture that I'm in, the UK, we might be the worst at it. We have like a hater culture. If somebody's good at something, we try and find an emotional reason. Like I said to you guys recently, my friend's got a Ferrari. He showed one of his friends, and his friend went, "Those number plates are illegal." When I had my first really good month, £80,000, one of my friends told one of my other friends, he said, "Yeah, but how much of that is profit?" You can't react like that. It's just emotional reactions. It's just panic stations. I'm on the back foot. I have to find a reason to save myself. That's English culture. I don't know what it's like in other places, but that is British culture. That's why we're not considered like very suave and cool anymore. Like people just say it's very tribalistic. It's like, I'm going to shoot you down because I just don't like you're doing better than me. It's a strange situation. The next point that I've got on here is honesty helps. It sets you free from emotions. Have you ever stubbed a toe or dropped a cup? It smashes and you get scared and shout at someone it had nothing to do with. I learned how to control that by being honest in real time. And I did kind of just explain that, but I wanted to get that point across. It's honesty in real time with yourself. It's self-awareness. If you can train your brain and stop yourself, guys, it can change the game. And then it becomes a skill. It becomes a habit. Then you start using it in business. So, and this is a great trick. I think it might have actually been Gary Vee that taught me this about 10 years ago. He said, it might have been him, it might have been someone else. I'm sure someone else has said it, but he said, don't make decisions. It might not have been him, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. I don't know who it was. It might have even been in a book. It might have even been in a book that I read. But the person said, don't make decisions when you're too high or when you're too low. So, if something really bad happens to you and you feel like shit, somebody in your family's just died, if you make a decision off the back of that, I don't know if I can trust your judgment. When people say, I don't know if you're in the right frame of mind to be making this decision right now, you always see this in movies. That's bad. People always do that. People always regret it. I kicked a girl out of this house before. She walked downstairs. The fire alarm goes off about 20 seconds later, and I was like, I know what she's done. And I'm sure she regretted it days later, but I was just like, just sat there with a cup of tea, listening to everyone else run out the building. And I was just like, guys, it's fine. I know what's happened. It's not a real fire. I was like, this is annoying. That's an emotional decision from her. Do you know what I mean? Like, something bad's happened. I'm going to hit that. I'm sure she regretted it days later. Abraham Lincoln used to write out entire letters of like how he actually felt, put them in the cupboard, and then a week later get them out, read them. And if he still felt the same, he'd put it back in. He'd do it again a week later and get it back out. And if he didn't feel the same anymore, he'd screw it up, put it in the bin. It was a great way. And I find this YouTube channel does that for me. It's almost like journaling. It's almost like I get a lot of thoughts out and then I can relax. And I rationalize things and then I can relax. That's why journaling is so good. That's why meditation, just sitting with your thoughts, is so good. Because you're almost self-analyzing yourself. Like, we all look back at something that happened to us 10 years ago and we cringe. I do it. I'm like, did I really do that? Did I really say that to that woman? Oh my God, what a dick. I hope she never thinks of it. You get those like hot body moments where you're like, that's embarrassing. Now, the other side of that coin is when you're too high. So you get really happy. And I saw this a lot when I was growing up, where you'd go out for 1 or 2 beers with the boys, and it doesn't even have to be under the influence. But you go out for 1 or 2 beers, you get a little buzz, and you all start going, we're going to be millionaires this year if we just do this and sell this money and whatever. You start making decisions based on that. And I don't think it works very well. You're having the best day of your life. You've made the most money ever. And you contact somebody and you're like, let's go. Let's launch this new product. Let me send you the money now. What, 50,000? I've got it. Let's go. And then 3 days later, you're like, fuck yeah, I think I kind of needed that money. Maybe I rushed into that. I'll say it again. You can't live like that. Everything needs to be very stoic, level-headed. How do I make the most calculated decisions in every moment? And that guy will rise to the top, because the most calculated decisions with not influenced by emotion is probably going to be the right decision. And the more you can deploy the neocortex, the better your life will be in all areas. Now, is there a downside to this? Because it's very robotic, it's very boring, it's very, yes, okay. yes, there is a downside, and it takes me about 24 hours to adjust. So you guys have said before in videos, and people have said, like, is Chris too serious? He's always serious. And then you see me in, like, for example, on Instagram, I recently posted a reel of me in Paris, enjoying myself. Some guy was even like, look at you smiling like a Cheshire cat, like it is a negative thing. I love that. I love finding the old me again, where I'm like, fuck, I'm happy. This is fun. I'm just traveling around. I'm enjoying myself. I'm eating good food. I'm laughing, joking. I let myself go. I get silly. I get childish. I start fucking around. But it takes me 24 hours. So I found in the past before, if I'm working and I'm thinking logically and I'm in the neocortex brain and I'm going on a date later that night, it takes me like an hour, 30 minutes to an hour to like loosen up. So I need to just shut it off, or even like have one, like, I wouldn't take a day off for a date. That's dumb. But like, I'll shut it off like a few hours before and go out into public and do something, chat with people, like try and do something different, get your energy up or whatnot. Because my mind is just like business, logical. Yes. I'm in business modes. Like, even go for meetings with my business partner that I'm working on this new, I won't go into detail, but it's going to be called 1M House. You guys are going to be excited about it. When we're working on that, like the first 10 minutes of meeting him, I'm like, hey mate, how you doing? You okay? Yeah. After about 10, 20 minutes, I loosen up and we start cracking jokes and talking life and whatever. I find it really hard to adjust. That's the only downside. But I think the upside is so great, it outweighs the downside, and the downside can be rejigged after a few hours or whatever. Like, even the last girl that I went on a date with, she was like, you loosened up so much. And she was like, the second date, you were like smiling and laughing and joking. And I was like, yeah, because it was like, I think it was a weekend, the second date, but the first date was like midweek. So I'm just in business mode. It's really hard to switch this over and be like, I'm just going to let myself enjoy. I'm just going to chill. Rather than everything needs to be logical. What time? Where do we need to be? Like, it's hard to get out of that pattern, you know? So I would say that's the only downside, but it's, you can rejig it around quite easily. You know, you can correct it in a matter of hours, days, whatever it takes. So, yeah, I think it's something that every man especially needs to deploy to get out of that limbic brain and deploy. I think it's limbic, not limbric. I think it's limbic. I haven't looked at it for years. I know the limbric or limbic ring is there, so I always get them confused. But you guys will know what I'm talking about. So, the point of this video, the conclusion you need to take from this is, you need to find a way to deploy your neocortex more. And now that I've told you about it and I've given you scenarios, you'll feel it in the moment and you'll catch yourself. You know, when you're feeling like shy and nervous or whatever, like, oh, I've got anxiety, I'm in a room, loads of people are looking at me. You go, shut up, ego, nobody's looking at me. Why am I acting emotional? I bet these people are just getting on with their lives. And if somebody does look at you, it's just part and parcel of being in the same room as people. Maybe she finds you attractive. Like, it's very normal. Do you know what I mean? Like, why would they look at you and not someone else? Like, just get out of your own head. Just move on with your life. Logically, I'm in a room with people. We're going to cross each other's eyes at some point. Let me just get on with, like, logic prevails in 99.9% of situations. It will make you more money. It will improve your relationships. You will find a better partner. It won't be, oh my God, she's so hot. Is she right for me, though? You can do all the robotic stuff first and then let Disney come into your life. I promise you it will change your life, guys. All areas, business, women, friends, so everything you do. Purchase decisions, investments. It's the best. And who you are as a man, which is a massive point. It's everything. If you're still with us, I just uploaded 3 to 5 new videos on the course. So if you want to go and check them out, guys, they're on there. I actually did a breakdown of my latest Instagram post when I was in Paris in terms of life setup and why I posted certain things and why I use certain music and how I framed myself in a certain way. And this is how I would do it. It's a really good breakdown. It's like the old body language stuff, but for life setup and framing. I think you guys would enjoy it. I'll speak to you soon.